What about the state of the housing market too, with affordability getting really low because you have rates staying up, you have home prices are staying up. Overall, it's getting much more difficult to buy a home. A lot of people are saying maybe you should start considering renting when the American dream has always been to buy a house. What do you say to maybe a person that's debating between renting and buying a home now?
Long term, always buying a home is a good idea. Buying a home you can't afford is not a good idea. So if the affordability issues are affecting you as a person, then obviously you need to sideline until you can get your situation straightened out. Here's what's interesting about that discussion is it applies to some people and it doesn't apply to others. You talk to I talked to a kid the other day who just came out a 4-year degree in supply chain, brand new college graduate, making 140 right out the gate. He's not worried about affordability in Nashville, Tennessee. He can do it. He's freaking 23 years old. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
He's not.
What
got
did he
that
graduate
issue.
with? What was his major in?
Supply chain.
Okay.
Supply chain. Logistics. So, yeah, I mean, killed it. It's a great degree field. And, you talk to another person who's, I talked to a lady the other day who just finished up her stuff in cybersecurity. She's making $400K. She's not worried about, so she's not having this discussion. But it's people who are stuck in their careers and they're not advancing their incomes faster than the house prices or the interest rates are advancing, the cost or affordability issues. And so then they start to read the news and they start to read the wealth equality stuff. And they're like, oh, well, life's unfair. I can't buy right now. There's been times in my life I couldn't buy.
But just because they could buy, does that mean that they should? Because just from what I'm seeing, this is the first time I've ever seen the housing market where, to me even, it makes more sense to rent. And I'm looking at properties, and I've been looking at properties daily for years throughout LA, California, Vegas, and I'm looking at the rent to sale ratio. And throughout most of these areas, you could rent for half the price it would cost you to buy it. And when I'm looking at the interest rates and the property taxes and the insurance, I would rather just rent.
It might be the case for a year, or it might be the case for 2 years. I don't know. Again, I got my real estate license in 1978. We've had that discussion before. So I've watched this a long, long time. And the thing I know is if I'm talking to a 40-year-old and they never buy a house, the 80-year-old version of them is going to be really pissed. Because their cost of housing over that 40 years, 100% chance it's going up. 100%
But what if they're diligently investing? Because you've seen these statistics before where if you had put your down payment in the S&P at the same time as buying a house, the S&P investment would have outpaced it by double. And that was from the 80s through today.
Except that the largest line item in your personal income budget for the typical American is housing.
Mm-hmm.
And when you buy a home and then you pay it off, it's no longer your largest line item in your personal budget, and you can do investing. And so you flip the cash flow towards investing at that point. And the data from the largest millionaire study ever done that we did, 10,167 of them, shows that the typical 1 to 5 million, the first 1 to 5 million of net worth that they get is in the 401k and investing in Roth IRAs and good mutual funds in the market and getting a home and getting it paid off. So they're sitting there $1.7 million net worth and they've got an $800,000 401k and they got a paid for $900,000 house and they're 47 years old and they're millionaires. And that's their first 1.7 million. Now you don't get to 100 million doing that. That's a different world, but we're not talking about billionaires. We're talking about millionaires and sustainability. So, I don't talk to happy 78-year-olds and 83-year-olds on our show, that are renters. So it's not a long-term play, but on the short term, is there times the market is dipsy doodle and you got this hydrocline, so to speak, where it's flipped and the cold water's on top and the hot water's on the bottom. Yeah, that could happen. Just like when I'm diving, the same thing can happen. It's a weird experience, but it's not the norm. Eventually, the warm water's going to be on top and the cold water's going to be on bottom.
It's interesting because your perspective is like financially maximizing. It's kind of like what people should be doing.
Yeah.
And then your perspective is kind of like what people are doing. Because you have the whole idea of like, well, right now it makes more sense to rent because maybe you could be mobile with your job, with rates and affordability as low as it is. It gives you the freedom.
But that's not a 40-year play.
That's true. I mean, it depends.
That's a 40-month play.
If you're reassessing all of the time and you're financially maximizing, that makes sense. Same thing goes for credit cards, because you could still get the money back if you don't adjust your spending habits and stuff like that. And that's what people like. If you are financially maximizing and you're super in tune
He
with
was
it.
doing really good for a minute, wasn't he?
Whereas, hold on.
He said credit cards.
Let me just specify. You actually report on what people are doing. The fact of the matter is, yes, you do have this contingent
That's
of people
true, but I also
that maximize, but
what
most people.
My point is not that. My point is, you don't want to compare a 5-year plan with a 40-year plan. They'll lead you to different conclusions. And to say I'm going to rent for 40 years would be ludicrous based on historical data. Are there moments in time where a 4 or a 5-year plan that what Graham's saying? I don't doubt what you're saying a bit. I think that's probably accurate numbers. But it's not a 40-year plan. Mm-hmm. And so right now, if you're in a moment where you need the flexibility and you're in and out, and you're sitting in LA with as your example was, and you can rent for half of what you can buy. If that's the case, I haven't looked at the numbers, but I don't doubt. Yeah. Okay, I don't doubt your numbers. So I mean, if that's the case, then yeah, for now. But don't make that your long-term game plan.
I would agree with that. Really, it was up until 2021 I was a huge proponent of buying a house. 2022, I saw things starting to flip, where I noticed rents just getting way too cheap for what they were. Mm-hmm. So now I'm in a very much like, I wouldn't buy something right now. I would rent. Mm-hmm. But prior to 2020, I was all about buying. Mm-hmm. I thought there were great opportunities out there.
You know, I just realized it's hilarious.
Yeah.
In 2020, I was buying my first house, and he was like, "No, Jack, don't do it." But he's telling everyone, "Oh, it's a great time to buy," and it was a good time. And now I'm buying a house because he's like, "Jack, you should get this house," and he's telling everyone, "No, it's not the right time to buy." That is like
Jack is the exception. In 2020, Jack's income was skyrocketing. In 2020, his income was going up, and I'm like, if you wait like a few years, what you would be able to purchase would be so much different from today. That was the reason why. Yeah. He was going from not zero, but like going from 0 to 1, like very quickly.
So if I'm financially obliterating myself and buying a short-term rental right now, what is your personal investing strategy for 2025? How are you allocating your money? What's your goal?
I just put an LOI on a piece of commercial real estate. Oh no, we just went to contract on it.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's going through zoning, and if we get through due diligence on it, we'll start developing.
What's the goal in mind with this real estate?
40 years. Yeah, it won't be for me. I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for my grandkids. So my son-in-law runs all our real estate, Rachel's husband, and he and I are having a blast. And he'll run it, and someday, I mean, it's a wonderful piece of property, and it's a large deal, and it'll take a decade plus to build it all the way out.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, it's several pieces of, it's from retail on the front, some office in the back, and that kind of stuff.
What's your
hotel on it? That kind.
What's your secret to getting a good deal?
On that deal, that particular one, I don't know that I really got a great deal. I usually buy stuff at, south of 70% of retail appraisal. In that one, I am doing something I don't usually recommend. I'll just be authentic. On that one, I got a good price on it. It'll appraise for more than I've got it tied up for, I think. But what I'm really betting on, it's right on the edge of the growth ring, and so I'm just betting on. It's a great long-term play. So it's a value purchase rather than a price purchase.